This is Entrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart. With your host, Terri Levine. Listen every week as Terri tackles the topics that will help you become a successful heart-centered entrepreneur. Be sure to read the blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog. Come back often and add this show to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. And now here's Terri.
Hello and welcome to Entrepreneur Radio and TV show with Terri Levine. I'm your co-host, Velma Gallant, and I'm excited to have you here today. You can connect with Terri, me, and other like-minded, heart-based business owners in the Entrepreneurs with Terri Levine Facebook group, so go check it out. And if you like this show, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we always love those 5-star reviews. Make sure you comment with what you're getting out of the show. Today's quote: "If you cannot control your emotions, you cannot control your money." Warren Buffett. And if you haven't guessed, today's show topic is emotions and money. Our special guest this week is Bob Wheeler. Bob is a financial expert and motivator, book author, and founder of The Money Nerve. Bob helps listeners conquer their money shame and avoid making poor financial decisions by teaching them how emotions can dictate our choices. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thanks, Velma. Great to be here.
So, emotions and money. I do connect to Warren Buffett's quote about if you cannot control your emotions, you cannot control your money. How I see that playing in is that, like we have emotional eating, we have emotional spending. It makes me feel better when I'm not feeling good. Sometimes I get overly excited, things like that. Is that what you're talking about when you're talking about emotions and money?
I am. And I'm also talking about the fact that we're making hundreds of decisions based on money and emotions daily. Am I going to bring my lunch? Am I going to eat out with coworkers so that I look cool? Am I going to have that extra drink? Am I going to indulge in certain things? Am I going to spend extra money for the designer label shoe? And we're throughout the day making these decisions. How will it impact me? Will I feel better? What will people say? Do I deserve it?
Oh, yeah. So using our emotions to justify some of the decisions that we make.
Absolutely. And I've had my first editor when we were working on the book, she said, I love that you're talking about money and emotions, but I don't make emotional decisions around money. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Well, when you go out to lunch with your dad, who pays? She said, oh, well, he does because I'm his princess. I said, oh, okay. Who pays when you go out with your mom? She said, well, I do because I feel so bad for my mom. My dad left her, and so I feel bad for her. And who pays when you go out with your sister? Oh, we're equal. Okay, never mind.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. And so what I'm hearing is that we do it so automatically.
Right. Right. And that's the part where I want to help people to have that little hiccup and catch themselves to reframe so that we're not running around saying, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke. It might be, I'm just cash poor at the moment with my $2 million house and my trip to Paris. And so adjusting to the truth of, I'm afraid to move forward with this decision instead of, I don't know how to do it, or I don't have the wherewithal. And just really start to get connected to what the truth is about our money story so that we can then decide, is it serving us or not? So then we can move forward.
Tell me a little bit more about money stories.
Well, we all develop stories when we're young. So maybe when I'm 5 years old and I say, hey, mommy, daddy, can I have a bicycle, or I want a puppy? And they might say, well, that's really selfish. There are other people that don't have that ability. Or, why would you want a bike? You don't deserve a bike. Or, of course, you can have a bike. You can have anything you want. You deserve whatever you want. And so there starts to be a story. Oh, I'm I'm greedy. I'm selfless. I'm not good with money. I lost the milk money. So now I have the story when I'm 5 or 6. So when we're younger, we're making these, oh, that's my life vow. I will never ask for money. I will never ask for support. I'm not worthy, or I'm completely entitled. And we start to develop these stories. And so as we get into adulthood, we haven't adjusted the software. We haven't updated our mental mindset to say, wait a minute, we need a newer version. And so we're operating sometimes from this 5, 6, and 7 year old that's just not sure or has made assumptions that may not be reality.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. Um I have done a lot of personal work around money and my beliefs around money. And one
Right.
of the observations that I came across was I had a situation as an elementary school child where I was given $1. It might even have been $2 back then. To go to the store and buy myself some candy. And I was so excited. I walked in, I put the dollar down on the counter, and then went and got my candy and came back, and my dollar was gone.
Oh no. Yeah.
It was not a full understanding of, the world around me or any of those kinds of things. And so what I got from that is that um, I'm not worthy of the money. I can't take care of it.
Right.
Right. And so that was some of the transformation that I took from noticing that, because I'd forgotten all about that till I started looking at what are my beliefs around money. So,
It's yeah, no, it's so interesting because I was working with a woman who didn't want to have money, nothing to do with it. And we explored it a bit and discovered her mom was a single parent. Her mom worked 2 jobs to put food on the table. And she realized all her friends had mommies that made dinner for them and made lunches. And so it wasn't ladylike to go out and make money. So she didn't want to be anything like her mom as a kid because she just knew she didn't get to have her for dinner. Instead of, later she was able to say, oh my gosh, look what my mom did for me. But
right.
as a kid, she takes on the message, oh, my mom's not like the other moms. This is bad. I don't want to be like her. All she does is works for money.
I like how you have it, like you have in your bio, the founder of the money nerve. And that nerve stood out for me when I looked at it. It's like, yeah, I do have nerves around money. Like there pressure points and pain points and that kind of thing. Is that what you were thinking when you named the money nerve?
Absolutely. It's visceral, right? We win the lottery ticket, we get $5. Oh my gosh, we just feel like we won $1 million. We get a bonus or an unexpected gift and we have this feeling and we expand. Whereas if you're shopping and you've bought a whole bunch of stuff, you're not sure if the credit card's going to get declined or not. There might be this nausea. People have heart attacks. People stress out. People have health issues when they're starting to think about their money and it gets overwhelming. So it's a very physical in the body. And I use that because I really do think that in the core, we are storing our money emotions.
It does make a lot of sense to me when it comes to that. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of fear we're talking about or what kind of shame we talk about. We end up feeling that somewhere in our body. At least that's been my experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, one of the things that I have thought about over the years when it comes to money is the words that I use when I'm expressing decisions
Mhm.
around money. What are the words I hate is budget. Because to me, and I know this is going to be individual for a lot of people, but to me, a budget means that I'm I'm governed on this. I'm restricted on this. So one of the things that I did to support myself was, this is not within my spending plan. So I have a plan around my spending, and that doesn't fit my plan. It wasn't that I couldn't afford it
Right.
or that it wasn't in my budget. It's not in my plan. Is that kind of the thing that you um teach?
Yes. And I do think it's important to name that for some people, the word budget is very triggering. So find a different word. But for me, a budget, of course, is informational. It's options. It's gives me priorities. And so for me, it's a positive spin, even though yeah, it's not my budget. But what is important is actually looking at the plan, looking at the budget, and then am I being honest? Right? If I have
Mm.
a spending addiction, if I have a candy addiction, whatever it might be, and I'm not including it in the budget, then I'm not being honest. Right? And then I'm like, why am I short? Oh, because I go traveling. I have a friend who, when they travel, they always come up short because they forget when they drive somewhere that they have to pay for a hotel and they have to pay for gas. They've just planned for the trip when they get there. Right? And they're not, oh, there's the pre part of the trip and all those kinds of things. And so getting people aware um, of how they're spending and what they're spending, and are they having conversations with their spouse, with their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their children? I worked on a week with budgets, and I asked everybody to just go home and over the week ask their partners what they thought of the budget. Like, did I get it right? And this older gentleman came back almost in tears and said, I did what you asked. I asked my wife, and she said, thank you for finally letting me into the marriage. And
Oh,
he had been projecting from his first wife everything onto a second wife. And so he had excluded her from the money conversations, and she had just been patiently waiting. And so, and the tears were, I regret that, like, I waited. Why did I wait? Why didn't I have this
mhm.
conversation? And so that was like huge. I mean, to see that just a simple question around money can open a floodgate or can open a relationship.
Exactly. And I think those are such important conversations, especially early on in a relationship, because I remember a conversation I had with somebody a number of years ago about what is your context for money? What does money do for you?
Yeah,
Are you the kind of person that, you like nesting and creating your home? Are you the kind of person who loves to travel? Are you the kind of person who loves to host people? What does money do for you? And are you and your partner on the same page?
absolutely. It is amazing how many people I talk with who have not had a money discussion with their spouse when they first met. I'll ask them, did you know their credit score? Did you ask them about their debt? Nope, nothing. I just went in blind. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
Well, and it's interesting because it feels, and I'm just going to be straight with this, it feels nosy and judgmental. And it also is wise at the same time, right? So I can see why people might avoid those questions. And it could even be from the perspective of, when you talk about money shame. I don't want to tell you about my credit score because I'm embarrassed and ashamed of it.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, if you're going to be in relationships with somebody, you're going to have to bear it all literally and figuratively. Right. And
Mhm.
so you might as well make sure you're on the same page. And I think the way we have these conversations, one of the things that we don't do these days and maybe never did is learn how to stay in a difficult conversation, learn how to
Mm.
tolerate the uncomfortableness and stay anyway instead of I'm running for the hills. And so the more we can say, listen, I want to have this amazing life and I want to have this amazing life with you. And the more we get to know about each other now gives us the ability to launch magnificently. And so it really, in the way that we frame it, to make it open, and I'm really curious and I just want to know versus what are you doing? How did you do it? Why did you do it? But if we come in with this curiosity and team and partnership, it's amazing to me how many spouses, when I'm working with them, either in a tax setting or in a workshop setting, that I'll ask them, are you guys on the same page? And they're like, what? Because those, well, who's right? Who's right? Because we have a dinner writing on this. Oh, okay. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Do you want to,
Yeah.
what are we trying to get here? Right. And so it's amazing to me when I'll say to people, what about instead of you taking turns, like being the breadwinner or the fighter, what if you stand next to each other and work as a team? What? Because they've just gotten in these patterns and they forget.
Yes. Yes. And so some of the other things that I'm hearing is, you know, some of those emotions can can create blind spots.
Absolutely.
So what can we do? Are there things that we can do to relieve some of the emotions or ease some of the emotions so that the blind spots can be revealed? Or is it better to look for the blind spots and then deal with the emotions?
Now, I think the emotions are there. It's great to find out what they are and be aware of them. It doesn't mean I'm going to fix them overnight.
Hmm.
Uh, Journaling is a really great way to start to excavate the gems. What do I remember about mom and dad saying or not saying about money? What was my first experience with money? Did I lose it? Do I remember getting a $100 bill or a $50 bill or a $10 bill, for my birthday, crispy in the envelope? What are those different things? Was I the rich kid? Was I the poor kid? Was I on lunch program? Did I wear a uniform? Did I have to? What are all these little things as a kid that made me say, oh, I fit in, I don't fit in, we don't have enough, we have too much? And
Mm-hmm.
really, and where do I get fearful? What are those fears? Do I get angry? Do I have gratitude? And as we start to explore that, we can then say, oh, here's that thing coming in. Here it comes. And so then we can work around it. So if I know that I have some places where I sabotage, I could find support and have people support me through that process so that they go, here comes Bob. We can all just sort of and push through it instead of just avoiding it. So it doesn't mean I always fix it, but I can learn how to manage it.
Okay. Okay. So I think this is a perfect place for us to pause because then we can come back and talk a little bit about those money memories and emotions and that kind of thing. So and when we get back, Bob, what I'd really appreciate is if you could share how our listeners can best connect with you.
Hey there, it's Terri Levine. I just wanted to pop in for just a moment as you're listening here to Entrepreneur Radio and watching Entrepreneur TV. We have so many new and exciting things going on. So you can watch a free masterclass. Highly recommend to get a conveyor belt of qualified prospects. That's at TL, like Terri Levine, tlwebinar.com. Head over there, enjoy it, keep listening and sharing the show.
So, welcome back to Entrepreneur Radio and TV show. We are here again today with Bob Wheeler, and we're talking about emotions and money. So, Bob, can you share with our listeners what's the best way to connect with you?
Absolutely. So the best way to get me is bob@themoneynerve.com or our website, themoneynerve.com. And that'll give you access to our resources that gives information on our podcast, on our online course, Mastering the Emotions of Money. We've got a lot of tools there that are free. And certainly people can reach out to us and we always reach out to people. So feel free to connect, even if you just have something you want to share.
Brilliant. Awesome. Okay. So we were talking about, and I was kind of surprised, and I really shouldn't have been surprised that you talked about journaling your money memories and your money emotions and taking a good look at them. I never thought about it. And in honesty, I have done that, but I never really thought about it specifically as an exercise. And one of the other things that you talked about was when you uncover some of those things, bringing in the support network around you. So, kind of having a money team available.
Absolutely. Well, the money memories, we all have them, whether it was, in our family, my mom made a lot of our clothes, right?
Mhm.
And so as a kid, though, you want to fit in with everybody else. You want the clothes that they bought at the store. You don't want stuff mom made. That's horrible. Uh, right. As a kid, as an adult, we can look at it and say, wow, that was really amazing. We have a different perspective. Time does
Mhm.
that for us. But as a kid, those are the kinds of things where we really take it in, and
Oh, yeah.
we take it to heart, and we make this lifelong vow of, I will never do that again. I'll never get caught like that again. I won't ever be shamed again. And so then we do everything we can to build a protection from letting that happen again. And then we don't discuss it, because money is just not something you run around, talking about my bankruptcy and my debt. Oh my God. I just, we're just don't do that. And so the more we can get clear about those stories, whether it's mommy only loves me when I fail so she can save me, or each of these different stories, we take that into adulthood. And so the more we can journal and become aware of that, we can start to release the shame around it and find out, oh, okay, I really held that strongly and I'm ready to let that go.
I really like that. And I again, I connect to a lot of those same stories. I remember um, lots of hand-me-down clothes, and my mom would make clothes. My Looking back, my mom loved making those clothes for us. It was a passion project. It wasn't. What was it? Connected to what we had available? Absolutely, but it was still a passion project. She was excited when something that she made fit us and it looked good, right? Um, so it's interesting the stories I made around it and the stories my mom made around it. So it is really interesting when it comes to that. So tell me, um, how do you see some of these money stories and our money nerves impacting our businesses?
Well, I see it a lot. So I can think of a couple examples. When I was talking about, does mommy love me when I fail? I had a client who every 3 or 4 years would completely torpedo her business into completely almost near bankruptcy. And her mom would come and save her. And I said, are you willing to have a conversation about what's going on here? This is the third time you've torpedoed. This was over a 11-year period. And she said, yeah, I'm interested. And we started looking and exploring. And the reality was, for her, she knew her mom loved her when her mom came in and saved her business. Her mom had a lot of money. And so her money would just be like, I have no money. And mom would come in and say, that's okay, honey. I love you. I'm going to fix it. And so I jokingly, kindly said, maybe we could just ask her if she loves you, and save all the drama of running the business into the ground. Right. Because, and I ask this sometimes when people say, well, my parents wouldn't love me anymore if I fail at my business. And I'll say, well, why don't you ask your parents what's the dollar amount at which they won't love you?
Ooh. Oh, that really punches that story in the nose.
It's like, but I had another client who he he had his own business. It was just, he was struggling. He got an opportunity to head a major firm doing what he does and make $300,000 or $400,000. Everything would be covered. And I said, this is a deal of a lifetime. This is being handed to you. And he said, my parents will be so disappointed if I let this business fail. I'm not going to take the job. And I said, well, your business is going to fail anyway. You're unconsciously making the decision to let your business fail by not being proactive. And he let his business fail because the act of proactively saying, this isn't working for me, felt like a failure instead of a readjustment or an assessment.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So it can be really valuable to redefine what failure is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had another client who came to me and he said, Bob, here's the situation. I think I'm going to go under. I can't pay everybody. I've got 20 people on payroll. And I said, well, you're going to need to let most of them go. You need to let about 15 people go and just hold on to your core. And he said, well, I can't break my word. I promised them that we would always have a job. And I said, well, you're going to have to make a choice because you did make this promise. And the reality is your business will go under. Can you go back and reframe the conversation with everybody? And so again, it's this having these difficult conversations. Hey, I made a promise. I thought I could keep it. It's probably impractical to promise that I will give you a job for the rest of your life, right? We don't know the future. And here's what I need to do. Now, he did that. It was painful. It was not fun. But I can tell you, 18 months later, his business thrived and he is now making multi-millions of dollars. But had he held on to, I made a promise and I don't know how to renegotiate that, he would have failed.
Well, and at the end of the day, as he fails, he would have failed on that word anyways.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense, because what if it works and then I can bring them back? What if I have the opportunity to bring them back? And what if that opens up the possibility for them to go out, gain some extra experience, that when they come back, I get to profit from that too. And they get to profit from that. So there's so many opportunities when we take the time to reframe what failure is, to renegotiate our word or promises. I really like how these conversations, um, we were talking about blind spots earlier, but it's also taking the blinders off, like stopping with the narrow focus and opening up to more possibilities.
Absolutely. And I think if we come from a place of compassion, if we come from a place of love, and if we come from our heart, right?
Mhm.
If we come in and just say, this is authentically me, I goofed. It didn't quite work out the way that I wanted it to. And here's what I want to do. If we stay in integrity, even through the the
Mhm.
trials and tribulations, if we stay in integrity and we stay with our heart, we're going to push through it. And people, I think, resonate with that.
I like that, because it also deals with the um but I gave my word, right? What I hear with that is, you don't want to go out of integrity,
Right.
right? And so how do you maintain integrity and manage your emotions and your beliefs and your blind spots around money?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important. And it's not always fun, but I can tell you there have been times where I've made a mistake. And to be able to stand and say, "Mm, I really messed up. I'm really sorry. There's nothing I can do to fix that part, but here's what I can do to mend going forward." That's not a fun place to be sometimes. But I think it keeps us in our integrity and it keeps us in our heartfelt place if we
Ab-
can do that.
Absolutely. And I think too, that's where those emotions come in, because I got to tell you, if I fall off a horse, I'm going to take a look at, what did I miss?
Right.
So that that doesn't happen again.
Right.
Because I mean, and that's not to say somebody wouldn't have embarrassment and shame around falling around off a horse, but to me, it's a little bit, why wouldn't I want to learn from my experiences, instead of playing ostrich and pretending they never existed?
Absolutely. And to me, again, it goes back to having these difficult conversations with people. And for me, writing the book and having these conversations to help other people remove that stigma of shame and to remove that feeling of I'm the only one, I'm in such isolation, nobody knows what I'm going through, and and bringing it out in the open so that we can actually look at things and say, oh, yep, I did that. Much regret, but I fixed it. I learned from it and we can go forward. But right now, most of us keep it really, I can't let anybody know. I can't let anybody know the truth, right? We
Mhm.
spend all our time presenting and hoping that we get to keep our secrets.
Well, and I think too that it's, I don't even want to know what I did, right? Like, I
Right.
don't want to look at it, because then I will experience the shame. So I'm going to avoid the shame and eventually it's going to come up and kick me in the face anyway. So
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And, that place where we don't want to know, the problem with knowing is you can't unknow what you know. And if we actually discover, oh, I'm going to have to take some actions. Oh, I'm actually going to have to be in integrity. Oh, I'm actually going to have to show up if I want the things that I say that I want. That's a lot of work.
well, and it makes a lot of sense, because if I don't know, I don't have to be responsible.
That's right.
If I do know, then I have to take responsibility and do something about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of us sometimes would love to avoid having to take responsibility. And it's definitely work. It is definitely not always just fun and joy when we're doing the work. I go into this kicking and screaming sometimes. I don't want to know, but I do. I do. Right. And I don't want to have the emotions, but I do. And I know what's on the other side. And the more that I can dig in there, the more I can be vulnerable, the more I can expose myself to myself, I can then actually make proactive choices, conscious choices, intentional choices that will then serve me in the way that I think that I want to show up.
I that makes a lot of sense to me. As I mean, the visual I'm getting is I have a choice. I can pull my head out of the sand, or I can keep shoving it in there.
Right.
The
And if you,
neck goes in, and
and sand is really comfortable, right? but but I'd rather be on a beach on the sand than with my head in the sand.
absolutely, absolutely. Bob, I've really enjoyed this conversation. It really reinforces the idea around that I can do something about my money memories and my money emotions. I can find a money team to support me. It is a value for me to let go of my blind spots and my shame. And with doing that, I get to remain in integrity with myself and those around me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, can you share with us one more time how our listeners can best connect with you?
Absolutely. They can find me at themoneynerve.com. That's nerve, not nerd. um, and Bob at themoneynerve.com. People can reach out, check out our website, check out my book, all that good stuff. Love to work with people. If you just are feeling alone or struggling, please feel free to reach out and we'll connect with you.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time and your wisdom, Bob. I really appreciated this conversation.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
And thank you to our listeners for showing up and spending your time with us here at Entrepreneur Radio and TV show. I hope you appreciated what Bob shared. Be sure to head on over to Facebook and connect with us at Entrepreneurs with Terri Levine, and you'll be able to connect with more heart-based business owners. And we look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Heartrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart, with your host, Terri Levine. This show is produced every week for your enjoyment and education. To make sure you never miss a single show, add us to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also read Terri's latest blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog, or follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. Your questions and comments are always welcome and appreciated. Send them to Terri on either Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for listening.